Hey, hey, hey. What do you say? Trying to get
Hi,
people on here. Hey, what's up,
how are
guys?
you?
Nice to see you. Can you hear me? Good,
It's
good.
there it goes.
How's it going? How are you
Yeah,
guys holding up
thanks.
during this
We're,
time? Can you
we're
hear me?
good. We're good. We're keeping it together. Yeah. How are you?
Good to hear. Good to hear. How's the baby?
He's good. He's right here. He's falling asleep.
Ah, nice, nice. Cool. Yeah. So, thankfully for everybody watching, cool. So this is kind of a segment I've been trying to do. We're trying to create a Discover NJ business page. So what I'm trying to do is just network through this time, just through different businesses, and basically give a platform to share their stories. So, so first of all, I want you guys just to introduce yourselves and introduce everybody who's watching and who will see this.
All right. So I'm Jamie. Husband John, he's just fixing the thing real quick. So we are Pawsome University. We also have Pawsome Walks. Basically, Pawsome University, Pawsome Walks. Pawsome Walks is actually our dog walking business, and we also do overnight stays at people's house. And then it kind of transformed into Pawsome University's my main focus now. John and I,
Okay.
we love the training aspect. We love the walking aspect. We love to help our clients. We love both of our businesses very much.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So he does the walking side, doing the training side, vice versa.
Sorry, you're going in and out.
Back up. Yeah. So are you. Let me see if my Wi-Fi.
John's checking ours too. Yes. So what was your question? I'm sorry.
Okay, I took it off Wi-Fi maybe. Yeah, so the question was, so you're doing the training and he's doing the walking, or vice
So
versa?
actually, we both do the training, but the way that it works, the Pawsome Walks, we actually have our assistant Miranda. She's been with us since the beginning. She actually pretty much runs Pawsome Walks by herself, which is amazing. So we hardly have to touch it,
Okay,
which is just wonderful from our standpoint. So she handles all the clients, all of
okay,
our employees. We have 6 employees total. And she just handles it all on her own, and it's just wonderful. So basically, we do all the training. um, he came on this past year, which I've been begging him since the beginning to leave his other job, and he finally did it. You want to tell them what you did prior?
I was a animal cruelty officer for the county. So I did animal cruelty
okay.
investigations, stuff like that.
So I begged him to leave, and he came and joined me, which has helped us tremendously
Love it.
as business owners in general. It's a lot easier when you have somebody like-minded helping you. With a lot of the dogs that we work with are more of the difficult cases. There are a lot of behavior modifications, which is those dogs that you see and you're like, wow, that dog needs some training. Usually it's, fear aggression, aggression towards people, kids, reactivity, guarding, really serious type training. And that's what a lot of people find us for, because we do only positive reinforcement.
Okay,
And it's good to have someone
okay,
with you, a partner that knows exactly what you're going to do before you do it, and you don't have to tell them. So that's why I wanted him so badly to work with me. But we actually met at the SPCA. We were both working there. He was my boss, and shortly after that we started dating, and now we're married and we have a baby and 2 dogs. Yeah.
that's pretty
Yep.
cool. That's a cool story. That's really interesting. So where are you guys actually
We live
located
in
in New
Keyport, but
Jersey?
we service all of Monmouth County. And depending on the training, if it's a dog, like if someone comes to me, like a client, and they're like, listen, this is my situation, and I find it super interesting, I will drive further, because I'm like so dedicated to like fixing dogs that have certain issues. So I'll go a little bit more up north, and sometimes I have a lot of clients actually in Brick and Tom's River, but that is obviously out of Monmouth County, but that's usually where we stay.
You have some out-of-state clients too.
I do.
One
I
in
actually,
Washington.
yeah, we have some out of staters because of our podcast. We have a lot of people that listen to us all over America. So we actually have one in Washington,
Nice.
Washington State, that we help out quite a bit. And then just people contact me all the time just for some virtual training as well.
Cool. Yeah, so how was the actual business form? You guys just wake up one day and just been like, all right, I'm gonna kind of start a dog walking business and a dog training. Like, how does one start a dog
So
business?
out of
You know what I mean?
college, I was working for my sorority's headquarters, and I kind of I didn't know what I wanted to do long term, and I went home one day and I told my mom, you know what, I think I'm going to become a dog trainer, and she was like, okay, sure, go for it. So thankfully, I was still living home with my parents, and she helped me. We found animal behavioral college, and I enrolled in that. And I said, well, if I'm going to become a dog trainer, I probably should, in the meantime, get a job working with dogs. So I started working at a doggy daycare, and I was there for about 3 months. And then I realized, I want to get into a little bit more of like a rescue oriented aspect. So I got a job at the SPCA, and that's where I met him. I was there for a while. He stayed, and I actually moved on to work for a groomer because I wanted to kind of enter that world a little bit. And while I was there, he actually woke up one day and was like, let's start a dog walking and training business. And I was like, there's no way we can do that. I was like, I'm a child.
You weren't happy with what you were doing.
No, I was not. I was definitely not happy at the groomers, and I didn't see it going anywhere. At that point, I had already finished my training certification. I was like, all right, what am I going to do with this? Like, who should I work for? And he was like, why don't you work for yourself? And I was like, I can't do that. And basically, he convinced me, and he is the backbone of all of it. I'm just the face of it, and he does everything in the background. Everything that we started, I mean, becoming a business, everything by the book. You researched everything.
Yeah, we play by the rules.
So he's like the
Oh, yeah.
LLC,
I know
the tax
nothing.
accountant, and the marketer.
Yeah.
So who's doing the social media?
Social media.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh, you're the brains. Also, you got to move to the center. You got to move to the center of the
He
screen.
does the talking, if you can't tell.
So that's cool. Yeah. No, I can see. Yeah, I hear you. No, I was the same way. Like I got into real estate. I love just being like figuring out systems. Just figure things the way you want to do it, and then it's just like, why talk to anybody else? Just
Exactly.
You're
He
your
built
best
a computer
brain.
like 13,
So,
like from scratch.
yeah, I don't know computers, so I'll give you that. But yeah. So let me see what other questions I have for you guys. So, what would you guys say your mission is for Pawsome University?
I think what we started out, I mean, because we're both rescue oriented, and that is something that's super important to us. Working with rescues, keeping them in their homes, and kind of bridging. This is my main thing. I say this to my clients all the time. We are here to bridge the gap of communication between you and your dog. Like we want you both to be on the same page so everyone is happy. We are not the trainers that are like, well, first off, we're positive reinforcement. So we're not, it's not militant train. Like we're the trainers for the family dog. I don't want a dog that's going to, do something on command. I want everybody to just be happy together, respect each other, and have that really good relationship. So, at the end of the day, you can say my dog respects me and I respect my dog, and we're just a happy family. And when I need my dog to do something, they can do it. But I'm also doing my part as an owner where they feel safe and happy. That's our biggest mission to get that, to really harness that in a family.
And we also like to raise awareness towards positive reinforcement dog training, because there's two types. You have positive reinforcement, and then you have the other type, which is more like she says, militant. It's considered aversive training. So they use pain and fear to get a result out of the dog, which is, it's effective, but it's not the kind of relationship you want. And a lot of dogs, over time, it'll make them break down. And those are the dogs that end up in the shelter with, severe issues that end up needing to be euthanized.
We like to avoid that.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, I agree. And then, so how'd you guys grow? How'd you guys start growing your business? Like, was it more of like word of mouth? Like, what type of marketing did you guys have to kind of really do to grow that clientele?
It kind of, growing the business almost came secondary to what we were doing just to make ourselves happy. So we're very involved with rescue, and that just so happens to be the perfect place to network as dog trainers and as a pet care business. We always donate our time, donate our training, donate as much of our services as we can to rescues, especially the Monmouth County SPCA, Foster's Future, who we're now on the board of, VALOX, Volunteer Auxiliary for Animal Shelter. So a bunch of rescues we like to help out, and Tales for Hope.
Yep.
So just through networking, doing what makes us happy, we ended up making these connections and getting these referrals, secondary to what we were even doing.
I think also for us, because we have the walking and the training, I think they started out as one. They started out as Pawsome Walks, and obviously that name pushes you more towards the walking than the training. But it was a really good way. Like, I think what sets us apart from other trainers, if they're just setting out to be a trainer, we had both aspects. So like, you get a walking client and they're like, oh wait, you're a trainer too? That's awesome. Like, let's set up a session, because they also need walks when they're at work, but they're like, well, my dog could really work on this as well. So once they have that relationship with you, they're like, oh, come and train my dog. I trust you. So I think that really helped us out in terms of clients in the beginning. And then once we really saw the training needed to be its own entity, he came up with Pawsome University like that, and we ran with it. So that's
yeah, that's a super name.
Him again. I'm not that creative.
Yeah, it was actually so the story how I actually found you guys is actually kind of funny, and kind of you guys definitely kind of would have a spin on it. So I actually got bit by a dog. So I was at my friend's house for the Super Bowl, and he's a very nervous dog, and he was always good around me, and he's very anxious. So every time I would go to my buddy's house and I'd meet him, but like the dog would be barking at me as soon as I got in, I never give him any attention.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd barking at me, I just never acknowledged him. And I don't know if I even did this on purpose, but I was just like, if the dog's going to come to me, he has to come to me on my own terms, and I can't try to force myself on him. So I kind of just ignored him. And then eventually, the first time I met the dog, he stayed away from me. And then as he started coming towards me, I just kind of put my hand there, and then he started smelling my hand, and then he started like licking my hand, and then he started actually getting more accustomed to me, which my buddies were like, you're the only guy he actually really likes. And I was like, well, I'm not trying to force myself to like him or him to like me. Yeah. And but then as more people come to the house, then my friends have to put him on, I guess, like anxious
anti-anxiety
meds.
medication.
And so like I never and so to me, I was like, why should a dog be on meds? Like, to me, that never, 1 and 1 doesn't make sense to me. And so anyway, I think it was like a year later, been at the house multiple times, but then we were in a bigger group. And so my buddy, I came into the house, the dog was barking. Usually it's the same, you kind of have to ignore him, he'll get used to you. And then as soon as we got to the house, when I got inside the house, my buddy was like kind of like taunting the dog, like, because he was barking, and I was like, dude, just let him be. Like, he wants to be comfortable. This is his house. Like, why are you trying to rile him up? And so he kind of was like doing like head feints at him, and then the dog was like barking at him. And so I was sitting on the couch just eating my snacks, and then I was like laying back in the couch in the corner spot. And then the dog was like right next to me at this point. Everything kind of calmed down, but he still remembered the head feints. And so when I was leaning back, I had my head in the corner of the couch, and as I came up, I had the same behavior, and he nipped me like right here. And you really can't see because of the beard. And then I just got up and I was like, I punched the dog, pushed him down, and I was just like, I just walked, and I was like, and then my friend Jen, she was like, what's going on? What happened? I was like, I think I just got bit. And then I was kind of bleeding. But then that's how then I came home and I told my sister, and she's like, oh, like, you should recommend them Pawsome University. And then I was kind of like, oh, let me start, like, if something happens, like, everything happens for a reason. So this is kind of me, like, this is where the interviews kind of started.
That's very
That was just a quick side note. So I know we told you it was going to. But me and my brother and my buddy, we were like kind of saying like they never did it. Like he never bit anybody. My friend Jen was like, she was so upset. She's like, I can't believe this happened. And I told her, I said, listen, it's not the dog's fault. I said it was my behavior unintentionally.
It really wasn't your
fault. I said I copied a behavior.
It was the person before.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't never my fault. But it was like I told her, I said, first of all, it was never my fault. It was the behavior that I was simulating that caused the dog to be threatened. So I said it was never anyone's fault. I said you shouldn't be mad at him, but I said I do think there should be some type of training with
work on that, because he's not happy
with anxious. Like if
he's scared.
Yeah, and neither am I.
It's stressful.
Yeah. No, I agree. And so and that's where kind of like, oh, like, and then I was telling him like, and then now they're training him actually, and so like he's getting better where they're like, we don't even put him on any meds anymore. Like he just needs to be comfortable. And I'm like, well, that should have been the first thing. Like no one wants to be on meds.
Well, that's good.
So, okay. So, but so it was a cool story. And then, but And then what's next? So what's like a typical day for you guys would be? Like if you had to say you get up in the morning, like how do you structure your day? Like working for yourselves, I know you guys have to have some type of routine. Like how does that
So
happen for
before
you
the
guys?
baby,
Yes, pre-baby.
pre-baby. So before the baby came, because we make our own schedule, I have to say it's probably one of my favorite things about being a business owner that we kind of just do whatever we want. We tend to do and also with the business, most people work during the day, so you have to respect work hours. So most of my clients are towards the evening. So I like to
Okay.
schedule everything in between, like maybe noon and like 6 or 7. I do have some clients that are home during the day, which is nice. So we try to get those out of the way. Mostly we try to schedule the most we can in one day and get it all done with. So we have like up until the baby came, we probably had like 4 3-day weekends, which is nice for us. We do 3 full days of work and then be sitting pretty for 4 days. Which was really nice because, you know, we just enjoy that time
Yeah.
together and building the business up in other aspects rather than the physical stuff. So you need time to do that as well. So you need to set yourself up where you're not running yourself ragged and then your work suffers. So we always kind of scheduled it to kind of get a couple days work done and be done with that. But because there's a lot of driving involved, because we do pretty much everything, we don't have a brick and mortar. So it's not like people are coming to us and we stay stagnant. We're driving all over Monmouth County. We're going to people's houses. We're meeting at parks and stuff like that. So a lot of driving time, which we both love to drive, so it's no big deal for us. And, you know, just, you know, packing your lunch, making sure you have snacks, your water, like that you're prepped and ready to go so you don't have to make too many stops during the day so you're not late. But scheduling is probably not the toughest thing, but the thing that's most crucial is like when I'm scheduling with somebody else, I'm going to think, look at my schedule. Who's the client I have beforehand? Where are they? Is it normally traffic during that time of day? And how long should I schedule in between the two? I think that's the biggest thing, traffic and the time of day, pretty much.
It doesn't always work, the preparation, but
we try.
Yeah.
Yes. And
It's
most
the thought.
clients
It's
are
the
super
thought that counts
understanding
always.
anyway.
So yeah. So when you guys are driving, you guys got like playlists
Absolutely.
going, podcasts. I mean,
we
are you
love
guys?
podcasts,
Yeah.
Audible. We're all about it.
Nice. Yeah, and the one thing I've realized as a business owner, it's more about, as you guys said, like your business, like money making activities are important, but it's a lot of like the downtime. Like, what are you guys doing to educate yourselves? Are you guys, like, how does a dog owner get better at training dogs? Is it just more you're doing, you get better, or is it like, how are you guys coaching yourselves to
So I'm
become better for your
actually
clients? I guess that's the question.
a trainer for the IAABC. It's canine behavioral consultant. So it's trainers that are actually way more behavior modification inclined. So they actually offer a lot of other training classes. There's like the big lump ones that are like, they're pretty expensive to take, but it's like really like nitty gritty type training, like really like scientific, like thinking and it's pretty crazy. And then they have smaller classes that you can take. So we kind of stay up with that. Yeah.
That's really cool. So what are you doing, John?
I do all the production on the podcast, all of our videos. I run our social media, and that takes up a surprising amount of time.
It does.
And I'm always trying to get our websites like easier to understand for clients and find a better way to present the information and a better way for them to get a hold of us. So a lot of my stuff is the background logistics and running all that stuff where the client first finds us to when our first free consultation is.
Yep. Advertising.
Gotcha. No, it is all about that.
Yep.
Digital marketing. Yeah, huge. You guys got a TikTok yet?
I've thought about it. I've actually made the account so that I could keep the handle so nobody can steal it from us, but we haven't done anything with it.
We should though.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm trying to see if I should get across that bridge yet.
I haven't even downloaded the app because I know it'll consume my whole day and I don't think I can afford that.
Addicting.
It is. I have friends that are like,
totally
I've been on TikTok all day. I can't. I cannot do it.
Oh, it's a drug. So, but all right. So I have a couple typical day like, and then all right. So what's like? I always ask this. I did a couple interviews. So what's a good feel good story? So some type of dog or somebody you've helped out where you've seen a really like huge change.
Who would you say?
You have Opie.
Opie's a good one. Opie we actually knew from the shelter, so it's kind of like a full circle type thing with him. He was at the shelter with us. He was, what, 9 months when he came in?
Yeah, he's baby.
He was actually owned by an older gentleman, and he actually wound up passing. And no family members would take him. So he got surrendered to the shelter, unfortunately. This beautiful brindle pit bull. He was gorgeous. He was just a baby, but he was big he looked like an adult, but he was a baby. He was great in the beginning, loved his walks. And then he was there for a while, and he started to break down. And that basically means that he doesn't show well when new adopters come on the floor. And if anybody, you know, hasn't been to the SPCA, basically how it is, it's 3 separate rooms, and these dogs, we call them digs instead of like cages, they're digs. It's all glass, so you can see everything. So there's really no borders at all. So they're kind of in this glass room that's like a 4x4, and some dogs just don't do well with that because we call it a barrier frustration reactivity. So like fences, front doors, you see any of your dogs kind of reacting when there's something in between them and you, and they can't get to you. Even the friendliest of dogs, if there is a gate or something like that, they will bark or growl or lunge just because they're so frustrated. It's just what their bodies are telling them to do. He didn't react well when there were new adopters on the floor. He also had trust issues. Obviously, his owner died, and then, you know, they left him. So anybody that came on the floor to like look around, he didn't show well. He would bark, he would lunge, he would growl. So no one wants to adopt that, you know, when they see it. So, you know, not many people asked about him, and not a lot of people want to take that time to work with a dog like that. Especially if they have kids in their house, you know. So after a while, he became more of a difficult dog to adopt out. And he had more, I would say, protocols and rules. Yeah. So couldn't go home with children and stuff like that. So he was there for a while. He actually tore his ACL, which actually made it 10 times worse because then he was in pain and wouldn't let anybody touch him. Even like John was one of his best friends, and towards the end, if he heard John's voice, he would growl. It was so sad. So we were like heartbroken. And then I don't know, one day this couple came in and they saw him, and they actually saw him on Instagram, and they came looking for him. And he fell in love with them. We were all like, holy crap. Like, this is like too good to be true.
It was the kind of meet where like all the employees are looking out the window to see how it's going.
Well, we were all holding our breaths. Like, he's going to do something. And he did it. He was perfect. It was like, it was just like this wonderful love at first sight meeting. And, you know, he left, he went home with them, and we all even like said to ourselves, like, this is crazy. And then we got, I think it was like 3 months later, we found out that his mom was pregnant. And we were like, that's it. He's coming back. Like, we know they're going to bring him back. And they didn't. They worked with him. They actually called me to train him, and I got to work with him. Erica is now 4. Yeah, 4. Wow. She's 4, and that is his best friend. He is amazing with her. He protects her. Cool. And the funny thing is, now that he's with them, he's a scaredy cat. Like, he's scared of everything. Like, he's scared of like the lamp in Erica's room because it changes colors. Like, now he's like this big baby.
Oh, that's funny. So
yeah, he was in the shelter and he looked all ferocious and tough, and now he's home with his loving family and he's this big baby. It's hysterical.
Yeah, it always takes a girl, right? To
exactly. But you know, we're so close to them. They actually wound up living down the street from us, and we didn't realize it when we moved into this house that they lived that close. So we actually saw him yesterday because we dropped them off a present. And he's just doing so well. So he is definitely our top feel-good story because we get to still have a relationship with him, and we've watched him go from rock bottom to like living the dream, and it's nice. Yeah.
No, that's so cool. Yeah, no, that's a really good one. And then so kind of segueing into that, do you remember the first story of your first client? Like how you approached them, how it went? Was it kind of like, did you have to get over like certain type of fear of like kind of presenting your story, or was it kind of just, as you guys said, through the network?
So I had a lot before this story. I did have a lot of training clients, but it was more like puppy behavior, like just command training and stuff like that. My first real behavioral modification, which is like really what I focus on, I was so scared. I was like, it's like that moment as a trainer where you're like, do I know what I'm doing? Like, am I qualified to handle this? And like, I was totally doubting myself, and I was like, oh my God, like I even told her, I said, listen, this is a little out of my comfort zone, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try like hell. And she was like, all right. So basically
Yeah.
she was younger. Her name was Bella. She was a pity cattle dog mix. She was a rescue as well. And they actually had her from a puppy. But I do think that she was inbred. I do think that mom and dad probably were related down the line somehow. And a lot of times when that happens, puppies come out and they're good when they're little, but as they get older into a mature age, they come out with behavioral issues like guarding or I don't really like to use the aggression word. I believe more so that dogs are reactive and people find it aggressive. So when she came to me, she had told me that she saw 3 trainers prior and they all basically said this dog should be euthanized. And I was like, listen, I'm not about that. I don't go down that route. And I said, you know, I truly believe, and to this day, every dog can be helped somewhat. Even if we don't fix the problem, at least we can learn how to manage it and keep everybody happy. So basically the issue with Bella was that nobody could come into the house. Nobody knew. She only knew the couple and I think his father, who actually, they had like a mother-daughter type house and he lived there. So those were like the only 3 people that she was friends with. First day she met me, she bit my hand. She got my cuticle, like it was so quick. I was giving her treats. She looked happy. 2 minutes in, her eyes changed and she bit me. And thankfully I was fine, man. But I got to see just how quickly she can snap.
Yeah.
And this it's almost like anxiety takes over and it's like, it's a fear-based thing where she feels like she's gonna get hurt herself, so she needs to react before I do. So, you know, get you before you get me type of situation. That's what a lot of dogs do. So that's what happened to you, how you got bit. That dog bit you before you bit it. And that's basically what happens. It's fear aggression. I call it fear reactivity. So with Bella, it was working on that. And then also she started guarding from her Basset Hound brother and he took no shit. So he went, they got into fights a lot, but they loved each other. They would cuddle and this and that, but if there was food involved, again, her eyes would change and she went into beast mode. So we had to work on both things. I'm going to say it was probably to this day, no matter how the other dogs I've trained up to this, it's been 4 years, she is still the hardest dog I ever trained in my life. I probably 3 weeks in was finally allowed to get into the house. She had to have a muzzle on, but we muzzle trained her. So it's desensitizing to a muzzle. So she didn't hate the muzzle. I would never slap a muzzle on a dog and just roll with it and put her in a horrible situation. It needs to be a positive. There needs to be peanut butter. There needs to be praise and treats and love and for weeks until you put it on and put them in a situation like that. So she was already desensitized. I was able to come into the house. She was leashed up. It got to the point where I felt comfortable enough for them to let her off leash. And basically what happened for a month straight, I would come twice a week and she would run up on me and kind of beat me up with her muzzle on her hands. And I would just be giving her treats and calming her down and giving her commands until she could calm herself down. And we got to a point where I could be in the house for about a half an hour with only her reacting maybe 2 or 3 times. And mom and dad were in full control. They felt a lot better. So we were managing it. She was definitely my toughest case for sure. And I got a lot of bruises from her, but she was like proof that positive reinforcement does work if you are patient. Now, most couples would not put up with that for that long. Like it was really slow progress.
Yeah.
I want to say
how long was it?
4 to 6 months of like serious, intense training. And then they could handle it on their own. Then they could practice with their friends. But they took all serious precautions. This is not a dog that I would say, okay, just let her run free without a muzzle on. She definitely she was very fearful and it came out in aggression. So a lot of people take that the wrong way. She definitely had trust issues. So, you know, that's okay. I'm all right with that. That dog doesn't need to be euthanized, but that dog needs to wear a muzzle when it's around people so it doesn't get itself in trouble. The muzzle for me is never for the people. It's for her safety, not theirs. I want to keep her safe. I don't want her getting sued. You know what I mean? So she was definitely my first client and my hardest, but most success, I would say.
So so when you said desensitized, what do you mean? I'm not a dog person. I mean, I like dogs, but I don't have a dog. My dad's allergic, unfortunately. My mom grew up in Ecuador and she literally was just like had a dog her whole life. Like So like I'm like, Dad, you ruined it for all of
Way to
us.
go, Dad.
So
So
like, come on. I
So
know. It's like, come on, man.
desensitization, you can use this in a lot of different ways. So desensitizing to children, to men, to strangers, other thunderstorms, dogs, muzzles. Anything that scares a dog or that is foreign to them, you can desensitize them to it in positive reinforcement manner. So with a muzzle, what I start out doing is I just have the muzzle. And I only use one type of muzzle. It's a rubber muzzle, and it's very flexible. So there's no hard points to it. It's not hard rubber. If they were to squish their face up against something, it would move with them so they don't get hurt. I don't want any pain. And it goes up the nose and connects to the collar and on both sides. So there's no way it's coming off. And they can eat, drink, and breathe with it on. So they can do everything that they normally would do, which is huge. A dog should be able to eat, drink, and breathe properly. A lot of muzzles you can't. They're like clinched shut and they can hardly breathe. So what I have my clients do is show them the muzzle and treat them the entire time. Tell them they're a good boy or girl. Get them super excited about it. All positive things happen around the muzzle. The first night, what they can do is literally just hold the muzzle like the nose would be to their palm, slap some peanut butter in there, and just have the dog, even if you don't want to hold it, put it on the floor, have the dog lick the peanut butter out of the muzzle. And then once the peanut butter is gone, you're done with that session. The next day, you do it again, and you just keep going every day. You can do it twice a day. You can do it 3 times a day. Whatever you want to do as a family. We want it to be a peanut butter mask. We want it to be the most exciting thing in the world. So when they have it, and once they get really desensitized to it, to the point where you can kind of push it a little bit further on the face, you get it to about where you would do it and you would clip it, but you don't clip it. And then the next day you do the same exact thing. So you just keep going until you feel comfortable enough to clip it. So that first day that you do clip, you clip for a second and then unclip again. So they're getting used to the fact that you clipped it and unclipped it. Just like that. 5 seconds, that's it, you're done. The next day, maybe 10 seconds, it's on. 20 seconds, it's on. 30 seconds, it's on. And you just keep going day by day until they have no problem with wearing it and it just feels normal. So it's not this traumatic thing where you're just slapping a muzzle on a dog and the dog's like going like this and trying to get it off. They won't want to do that because they're focused on the peanut butter or the yogurt or whatever you want to put in there. And that's basically what we do until the point, they really don't care about it.
Yeah, it's all about the peanut butter. So, and then let me see. Do you have any advice to someone you would be? Any advice? Would you give any advice to someone who'd be interested in creating this in the future, or any entrepreneurs like watching? Just like some of the lessons you've learned.
Because I liked yours as well. My piece of advice would be to get a job at an animal shelter, or if you can't get a job, at least volunteer and really get into the nitty gritty and spend a couple of months working with dogs in the shelter and taking care of them, cleaning them, taking them out on walks. There's a lot to learn that in an animal shelter that you will never ever learn from a book, from an online class. You need to be in it. And then once you're actually in the animal shelter scenario, you get to see how the bad training affects dogs. And you get to understand why you don't want to do that and you want to change the way people are in a community. But definitely the experience that we've gained, it's comparable or better than what you'd get from a full training course on how to be a dog trainer.
Just going to the animal shelter?
In an animal shelter, you basically learn to speak dog. After a while, you look at a dog and you can immediately read their body language like that. And if they're uncomfortable with a situation, what they're thinking, how they're feeling. And that is the most important tool for a dog trainer, is to know what's going on in a dog's mind
without them speaking to you.
Right.
Because that's the hardest thing. It's not just, training the client to train the dog. You have to be able to have a relationship with this dog and understand what this dog is trying to tell its owner. If you can't do that, then you're not helping that family. You need to bridge that gap of communication. Commands are great, but you need to learn that dog emotionally. We focus on more emotional training.
Right. And you got to think, if you're working in an animal shelter for a year, you have over 1,000 dogs that'll, depending on the size of the shelter, but 1,000's a conservative number. Over 1,000 different dogs that are coming into the shelter system and then coming back out. So you get to meet those dogs, understand their personalities, work with them, which is a much faster rate of working with dogs than if you were to just go apprentice under somebody, where you're going to see maybe 10 dogs a week.
Yeah.
You can't replace what you learn in an animal shelter.
Yeah, you get every single type of personality thrown at you. For me, as a trainer, I feel like the most advice I can give somebody is be true to who you are with your training techniques. Like, I am positive reinforcement all the way. I don't budge on that. What I deem necessary and appropriate, I stick with that. But at the same time, because a lot of people do that, you need to accept the fact that not every dog is the same. So you may do positive reinforcement, but just because you did this level of positive reinforcement on this dog doesn't mean that it's going to work on this dog. So I always tell my clients, like, listen, I'm going to give you this homework. I want you to work on this. See what happens. If it doesn't work, we'll try something different, which a lot of trainers don't do. They stick to one method and that's it. And if it doesn't work, well, then that dog's, you know, maybe should be euthanized. I don't run that route. We try everything until we are exhausted. And that is like,
it's like, no, I agree. It's kind of like my sister does the same thing. She's a teacher. And I mean, she's always like, you can't teach a kid one way. Like for me, like I remember, like I always had to be doing it. I had to do it like 10, 20 times just to get it. And then I had to see another way. And then I'd be like, I didn't even know you can do it that way. And then, but as you said, it's cool how to see how even a lot of different fields make sense. And then like I'm still a runner. And so it's a lot of similar things. You can't always train the same way. You want to like wake your body up in a different way sometimes. And it's pretty similar.
And being positive about that, like don't take it as a negative. Like just make it, like for me, if something doesn't work, I'm excited to rack my brain for the next option. Like let's do this. Let's make this work. I'm trying to figure it out. And I think
that's when continued education just comes naturally.
Yeah. So it shouldn't be a job.
Do you guys see a lot of stuff like do you guys see a lot of stuff on like social media where you're kind of like that's not really right, or
all the time.
You know what I mean?
Time.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
I have to say this just because we're live right now and people are watching. If you have a retractable leash, please throw it out. That's all I have to say.
Oh yeah. Oh, so yeah. So what are things that people are doing wrong? Just in, like as you said, you like the retractable leash. Like, can you name a couple things where just, I guess society has taught us that's right?
We were actually just talking about this today. We're obviously John was a humane police officer and working with animal cruelty, and because our animal laws are not up to par, they don't fit what we think they should be. A lot of people still think that, prong collars and shock collars and all of these adversive training tools are acceptable. And to me, they just aren't, because I know for a fact that positive reinforcement training works. So I know those things shouldn't be used because I know that there's a better way to do it and it does work. You just need to be patient. And a lot of people don't want to be patient. They want a quick fix. So they'll go for the shock collar and the prong collar. It's the only way I can walk my dog. And I feel bad when I see people write that. I'm a part of Dog Moms on Facebook, that group. And so many girls comment, don't judge me. I have my dog on a prong collar because it's the only way I can walk them. And I feel so bad for them because I know they don't want to be using that. And they have
So do you go in the comments or you just kind of?
We only suggest one harness. It really does help. We use an Easy Walk, and it's basically a front clip harness to the chest. A lot of people don't know this, and this is what I'm talking about. There's so much information out there, but like I want to yell it from the rooftop so everybody knows it, and it's like it doesn't happen. Like people know this information, it just doesn't get passed along. Like there's trainers out there that are like prong collar or nothing, and that just makes me so angry because there's other options and they're not using it, and that makes me angry. The Easy Walk, it clips from the front. They have a reflex in the back of their necks that if you pull from it, so a collar or a harness from the back or a prong collar, they want to pull forward. It's a reaction that their body can't help. It's just an involuntary reaction. They want to grip the ground. They want to pull forward, and it's like huskies. You put them on sled. That's where that came from. They got clipped in the back because it made them pull forward and run. And that's how they got places back then. So dogs just have that reflex. And when we engage that, they pull forward. You can leash pop them. You can pull them back. You can yell at them. You can tell them no 1,000,000 times. They will not listen because they can't help it. It's not that they're just being rude and don't want to listen to you and want to do what they want to do. And that's what everybody thinks. So they think, okay, I'm going to put you on a prong collar and you're going to listen to me. Now you're going to listen to me. That's not what it is. And it doesn't need, that's the thing, like the attitude thing, that's what we don't do. We bridge the gap of communication. I want everybody to respect each other. I don't want you to get mad at your dog. I want you to think, how can I help my dog listen to me better? And that's the way that we train. So the collar that's clipped, the harness that's clipped from the front, it doesn't engage that reflex. So I have clients that they've used prong collars for years. I put them on the Easy Walk. They walk like show dogs. And the clients look at me like I'm insane. And I'm like, it works. And it does. And it's $25 from Amazon. And that's it. It's so easy. You know, everybody thinks they need to train their dog to heel. You don't. You just need proper tools to use when you're walking. And this is the type of stuff that boils my blood, because I feel so bad for these people that get talked into prong collars and shock collars, that this is the only way your animals learn. And it's not true. It's not the case. So I think those are probably our biggest pet peeves.
Yeah, we could go all day about pet peeves, though.
So what's
I was gonna throw another one in there.
You continue.
My biggest pet peeve
is
throw
the
another
trainers
that, without throwing too much shade, because I don't want to go there, but the trainers that will sell people on packages, which is something we will never ever do. Yeah. So almost every trainer in this area, or Monmouth County area, even New Jersey, you have to pay for your consultation with them, which is a business tip. If somebody wants to do this, do not charge for consultations. If you have faith in the service you're providing, your consultation will lead to them being a client of yours. So we always do free consultations, and we never sell packages. So a lot of trainers will say, okay, well, $1,500 up front, and you'll get, you'll get 10 training sessions, and there's no refunds. So they'll go 1, 2, 3 training sessions. They don't get their money back. They're not happy with this trainer. They're seeing their dog go on a decline because they're using bad training methods. So we've had so many clients that have gotten burned by other trainers, and then now need to pay us more money on a day-by-day basis just to fix what the other trainer broke in 3 sessions.
Yep.
So
it's sad.
Yeah. So you guys do day-by-day basis, not contract?
So I give my clients a quote of what it would be by session. It's usually a half an hour to 45 minutes, because dogs can't go more than that. So if a trainer's trying to tell you, I'm going to be with you all day, no, your dog is going to be exhausted. They need short increments of training, so then you can practice throughout the week. I should be able to tell you everything you need to know in that 45 minutes, and then you execute during the week. I give them a quote for those 45 minutes, and that is their quote until they use me, until they don't want to use me. Because I could give somebody a package, but what if they don't like me? They find out 2 sessions in, I don't like this girl. We do not mesh, and that's okay. And not everybody's cup of tea.
It's okay to.
So if we don't go together, how are we going to fix your dog? Your dog is the most important thing, not my ego because you don't like me. You know, so that's why we don't do that. And I think, if someone needs you to pay them $1,500 and agree to 10 sessions, they know it's because no one wants to stick with their 10 sessions, and they know they're going to get their money.
That's kind of. That makes no sense. Like, why would you? Like, you have to kind of know what's going on, and then, like, you guys can't be there every day. Like, they have to be the ones teaching 100%. The dog
and that's
what to do. It's like if you want to lose weight, a coach is not going to do it for you. You gotta know what's wrong and do it yourself.
And that's another reason why we don't suggest to our clients to do board and trains. There are a lot of good trainers that do board and trains, but a board and train is where you drop your dog off and they get trained while you're not there. I think you need to be.
How does that help?
You need to be fully involved in your dog's training, because they're there. There's a lot of training around here where you drop the dog off. It's like a 2-month training. You pay like $4,000, and they train your dog, and then you come in and watch your dog learn all the things that they learned in those 2 months, and then you're just supposed to execute them at home. But by the time those 2 months are over, you could see that your dog is now trained on a prong collar and a shock collar when you totally told them not to do that, and they just went behind your back and did it anyway. You need to know exactly what's going on with your dog the entire time. And that's very important, because you're your dog's advocate. They can't tell you, hey, you don't know what just happened at daycare today. They can't tell you that.
We don't train the dog. We train the owner.
So I've always heard the conception of you have to be the alpha in the relationship, obviously. Is that an actual true thing, or is it more of like a relationship where you have to
We don't really
understand
believe in alpha.
the dog?
It's not, there are some aspects of training, and it depends on the situation. It depends on the dog. But mostly like from birth, I am not like into that whole alpha thing. Like, oh, you need to be in charge. You need to show them who's boss. It doesn't need to be that way. If you show respect to your dog, they're going to do vice versa. Why would they not duplicate what you're giving them? They're not just going to like try and walk all over you. Dogs innately from birth want praise and love. They want to please you. So if you don't,
it's not it's not a dictatorship.
That's not how they roll.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, oh, well, that's how the wolves were. We're not wolves. We're families. We completely domesticated them. You know, traditionally, that's how they were raised when they were in the wild, but they're not in the wild anymore. You know, everything that we've taught them in the past 200 years is now being passed down mentally through birth. All that stuff, it's all DNA behavior. I believe there's DNA behavior, and then there's also learned behavior. Now we need to make sure that we're helping them with both. So like, I'm going to give you an example because I see you kind of questioning that. Our dog Pudge, she is actually from a hoarding case, but she was only 2 weeks old when we found her. Now, of course, she was in a house with over 300 dogs. Yes.
What?
Crazy
Who
people.
does that?
Howl people.
Crazy.
Yes.
Really?
It was 3 years ago. Actually, no, 4 years ago.
4 years ago in June.
So she was only 2 weeks old when she was in the house. So she didn't physically really see anything that was going on. Like, she wasn't involved in like what these other dogs were doing. You know, they were never touched by people. They hardly had any socialization. They never left the house. They were never outside. She didn't know any of that because she was only 2 weeks old. Her eyes weren't even open. So we raised her. She never had a bad day in her life. But when certain things happen, she flips a switch and she goes into full-on hoarding dog. Scared, barking, craziness, just like behavior that her ancestors and her parents would have done. But she physically was never in that situation. And that we call her what's it called? Sour Patch Kid, because she's sweet and then she's salty, even though we raised her like a perfect child. But she reverts back to that hoarding behavior sometimes. And it's just interesting to see in our own house. We know what she's been raised at, only positive reinforcement. And sometimes that hoarding behavior comes through. So that's DNA behavior that she was learned, that was passed down from her parents and stuff. And then there's learned behavior.
Yeah, because like when I was scratching my chin, because I was like, oh, nature versus nurture. And I was like, oh, that whole argument, we could go for another hour on that. But I was just, so I had a couple questions actually, not for me. We have a couple in the comments here. What's the best and most challenging part of the job?
I think the best is when you can help a family and you just see like a huge difference, and you see not only the dog succeed, but you see on the client's face, like, just like a relaxation, like they're just like, finally, like somebody gets it, and we're on our way to making it work. And they're in, once they see a little bit of the training start to work, they dive in, and it's like the best feeling in the world, because then you feel like you're connected to this person and they're understanding exactly what you're putting down. So just helping in general, I think, is like the best part of the job. Whenever I get a good response from a client, I get a text, oh, we did this tonight, it was great, I love it. It makes my day. The hardest thing, and John and I were actually talking about this earlier, like, what is the hardest thing about being a dog trainer? Learning that you can't help everybody, and learning that not everybody is going to buy what you're trying to sell them in terms of positive reinforcement. There are a lot of people that are stuck in their ways, and they would rather stick to what they're doing because they don't believe in the positive reinforcement. And knowing that you probably care for the dog more than the client does. And that is the suckiest part.
I think I agree so much. Like, it's hard, like you're like, I'm not trying to sell you. Like, I'm looking out for you. Like, if if just from the bottom of my heart, like, if I could tell you how everything behind this works, like, just like, I have your back 100%. And it's just like, I'm not trying to sell you. It's just, I can do a better job than anybody else, but I don't want to like throw my ego at you. But it's like, also kind of
100%.
just go
And you
your own
have to
way.
learn that you can't fight
And
people
then,
on that. If they don't want it, they don't want it.
yeah, yeah, I think you're gonna win people, and then you're gonna lose some. And it's just as you said, like if they don't mesh with you, if they don't like you, like you know what, like
100%.
you lost the best thing, I
And I
think.
feel bad for the dog. It's like
But
you wish
okay,
the dog could talk, and
yeah,
they can't. Yeah.
no, I agree. And then, so another question we got: what are your thoughts on training a dog to be
All
off
right. So,
leash?
me personally, I'm not a fan. I love my dogs too much to care if they are off leash. To me, and this is just me personally, no offense to anybody else, I find that people wanting to have their dogs off leash, it's more about their ego than their dog. There are so many things that can happen in this world where your dog can die like this, and I've seen it happen. Thunder strikes, they run into the street, a car was coming. Those, like, you cannot guess if those variables are going to come out of nowhere. And you know,
Yeah, there's a
a
thousand ways
deer,
to
they
die,
chase a
and
squirrel, you know,
yeah,
they are dogs. You cannot communicate with them like you can communicate with a child and say that's dangerous, don't do that, and this is why. We need to work with our animals. I mean, there are some dogs that are trained perfectly off leash, but they're trained by professionals like policemen and soldiers and stuff like that. That is their main job. When you are a civilian and you have a family dog, it's very different. And to me, it's not worth it. To lose your dog in a freak accident is not worth having them off leash. You gain nothing from that. That's
okay.
You can use a long line.
Yeah.
There's other options. So there's long lines that you can get anywhere. 15
Yeah.
feet, 10 feet, 25 feet. Use that. At least you know. God, even if you want to drop the leash, at least there's a long line for you to grab when your dog is 25 feet away from you. So in a field, that's fine. I get it. But, you know, if you're walking down the street in a residential area, there's no need for your dog to be off leash because anything can happen. And that's terrifying. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, you don't need to be that guy on YouTube video who's just trying to, as you said, the ego.
Like,
okay,
you can say,
I
"Oh,
see
my
it.
dog walks off leash," because it makes you feel good, and that, unfortunately, that is what it is sometimes, and that makes me sad because your dog is more important than your ego, or at least it should be. Yes.
Yeah, part of your family, absolutely. So, and then, what is one of the hardest lessons you guys learned as entrepreneurs, business women, businessmen? What was one of the hardest lessons you guys have learned?
How to do taxes properly.
How to do taxes. the backside of the business, I'm so
That's
grateful
funny.
that John is, you know, he does have that business. It just comes naturally to him to research. I mean, I call him Google because if you have a question, he will Google it and he'll find the answer. And for me, I don't do well with that kind of stuff. It takes me forever, and I get very confused very easily, especially with taxes and business stuff because it's very wordy and it's confusing. They do not make it easy for you to become a business owner. They really don't. So he does really all of that, and I am like so grateful. But that is probably the hardest part, is to do everything right, so you're not going to get in trouble by the IRS or anything like that. That definitely, business-wise, 100%. Just making sure that you're in the green and you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. Yeah.
Huh.
Taxes, they're hard.
Cool. So how do you guys like operate during like obviously springtime, fall time, summertime? Like, what are you guys doing during the winter? Like, how do you is it in like you're obviously going outside are you outside training, or
most of the time it's inside because obviously training. It's pretty cold out, but most of our trainings are inside anyway, but it really depends on where the dog is at training wise. I mean, if it's in the beginning of puppyhood and they're just learning commands, we do them inside because puppies really shouldn't be outside learning in the beginning. Well, if you're doing training in the beginning, it's supposed to be inside because you don't want too many distractions. So if there's like a bird or a squirrel, they're not going to be paying attention to you. Down the line, once you learned inside, then you move outside. But if we're working on dog reactivity, Oakley, my big guy, we use him for all of our dog reactivity training because if dogs don't like other dogs, I use him because he could care less. He doesn't bark. He doesn't even look at the other dog. If like you had a dog and your dog doesn't like other dogs, he would want to say hi to you. He wouldn't even care that you had a dog. He doesn't react to anything. He's a therapy dog. He's just a perfect angel. So he helps us out with all of our trainings. And so
what's his story?
If it's in the winter, like I will do those. I bundle up and we go outside if they're willing to do it. It really depends on the client what they need to work on. Yeah.
Cool. And then I think so. Do you guys have a count of how many dogs you've guys trained so far?
No, it's a lot though. I mean, because we have so many clients with Pawsome Walks, and we double dip a lot. So like, you know, there'll be a walking client, but there'll also be a training client. But it's been a lot of training clients. It really it's a lot. I would say in the thousands for sure. Yeah.
That's cool. So,
and that's another reason why we don't do packages, because most dogs, they don't need 10 sessions. They could have a couple problems that when I talk to the family and we go for 3 sessions, we figure it all out. Once John and I give them the information that they need, we don't need to come back. You know all the information. I'm not here to take your money. Once you know what to do and you can practice at home by yourself, you don't need us. And I think that's...
there's not going to be a new
like random information
dog training session in a year.
Once you are starting to fix the issues, you're good to go. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no new method coming out. 100%. It's just cool. So, I'm out of questions. I don't have anything else. Let me see if I have anything else. But no, once again, thanks for doing this, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
It's fun. Yeah. And so what I'll do is I'll be hanging out with you guys when the world actually returns to normal. And then I'll also do some social media advertising for you guys. So I'll come out, follow you if that's okay at one of your dog trainings, and just kind of see what it's like to be one of the Pawsome University, and then just kind of help you guys grow your network as well. And then I'm also going to be doing this for more businesses out in New Jersey. So I actually have a couple appointments this next 2 weeks. So slowly building it, but it's getting fun. So
we would love to have you.
So I think, no, I'm excited to meet the dogs. And then once again, congratulations on the extension of the family. And what's his name?
He's actually John Jr. Yeah.
John Jr. I like it. So, but all right, guys. Well, you guys get to eat. I'm sure it's probably bedtime for someone out here.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
So, So, everyone watching, thanks for following us. And then we'll be more out there, and we'll follow Discover NJ Business, and really more important, follow Pawsome University. And we'll be sending more stuff for you guys.
Have a great night.
So.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
All right, you too, guys. Have a good one.
Excellent.
Bye.